Hello everyone. So today we will be working on lab number 5. Lab 5 is about camera movement. We'll see how a camera will follow the player. Like for example, if you keep moving the player's position, so how camera can follow the player rather than, let me show you. For example, this is basically what we have designed so far. If you want to play the game, let's say if you just hit play, so what's going to happen? I mean, the player is moving left and right, left, right, and of course we have added maximum, minimum position, but our camera is static and it's not following the player. So what we want is, in this game, we want the camera should start following the player. Along with the player, the camera should be right there. So that's basically our plan is. So in order to do that, there are a couple of tasks that you guys will get done along with this lab. But before we start that, if I hope most of you guys have already got the challenge done, where I have asked you guys to add two more buttons. For example, if you want to move the player on the left side, beside the arrow keys, if you use A for the left and D for the right. So I hope most of you guys got it done. If not, but let me just quickly show you how we can get it done. In order to do that, we're gonna go to the player script, and there's just one addition, one small change that we have to do. So what we have to do here, if you guys see down here in the player's position right here, so this is basically the player's right position. So the same condition, everything else is same. What we're gonna do is we just have to add a concatenation symbol here. We will concatenate, and for concatenation we'll just add input, and input exactly the same. We'll get key code, get the key, and the key code is going to be key code dot D. So now what should happen here? I need to add one more bracket just to close that. So what should happen here? We are basically putting another option beside the right arrow. No, the game object will take input from the D as well. So if you, either way, if you hit the arrow key, right arrow key, or the D, it will be exactly the same controls. If you guys see here, exactly the same control will be applied to your player. Transform dot position, that's, it's basically the player position. We have to do the same thing down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this exactly same code, and we're gonna paste it down here. And here what we will do is this, to again concatenation symbol, and we're gonna put here A for the left arrow. So A for the left and D for the right arrow. If you now save this code, once you save this, let me show you. If we go back to our game, it's being applied, and if we play the game, now instead of, we can use A and D as well. So you guys can see A and D are also doing the same thing what our arrow keys were doing. So this was basically the answer for your challenge. I hope most of you guys already got it done. It's just a simple addition in the code, nothing special. I mean, it was just a simple addition. Now let's come back to our today's agenda item, which is the drag and drop method, and demonstrate how camera can track the movement of the player. So in order to do that, firstly, let's see if we see our player. So right now, the platform is very small. So let me just select the ground, and let me just scale my my z-axis, like this camera z-axis, to, let's make it 1000. Let's make it 1000. And let me just change the position of let's change the position to 490. Let's make it 490. Let's see. Okay, so it's too far. Let's make it 0 again, and let me just change the position of my player. I think that would be more convenient. If we go to the player, rather than having -45, let's change the position to, for example, 490. It's to minus 149. Okay, minus 50. It's too far again. Let's see. Okay, minus 45 is fine. for the player. All right. So right now, what is happening here? If you play the game, what is happening? The player is moving with left, right keys and A and D keys, but camera is not following it. So what I want is, I want my camera to follow my player. So the easiest way to do that is, you have to make your main camera as a child of your player. Like player, which is over cube, we have to assign the camera to the player. Like you can simply say the player will become the parent class and the camera will become child class. Let me show you. So if I will drag the camera and play and drop it onto the player. Now if you see what happened here, camera will now start following the position of my player. Okay, like if you click the player, this is the position of the player, I mean in the game world, and the camera will now follow the position of the player. Let's see it. If we play the game, if you guys see camera, I mean it's right now moving, but we can't see it because the ground is too big, but I'll show you guys here. It's moving so slow right here, but it is moving. It is moving. I'll make you understand. Right now it is moving. You guys can observe it. That's what's moving, in fact. Okay, so what is happening now? The camera has starting following the left right position. If you see, the camera is basically moving along with that. If you see, the camera is also moving in x-axis wise, y-axis wise. So all what we want is, I want my camera, I want my let's go back to the player. I want my camera to follow only the Z position. Like from, I mean what I want is, if you guys see down here, this is my camera, and camera is basically following, I mean my camera let me show you. If you see, this is the player. If I up the player, camera is also going up. If I move my my player to the right side, to the right side, camera is also moving accordingly. If you move your camera to the y-axis, I mean I don't want my camera to move along the x-axis or y-axis. I don't want it. I want only my camera to follow along with the z-axis. I mean, this is basically what my plan is. So in order to do that, what we should do is, we have to write a script. So the camera should not track the x-axis and the y-axis movement of the player. So we cannot do that way. Okay. As far as first task is done, you can of course use that. But in order to track the player with the camera with only z-axis, we need to write a script. So firstly, we need to make it back to the main object. Let's make it back to the main object. Let's make it back to the parent object, you can say. So in order to do that, in the last time I think I have shown you another way to write a script. Right, you can right click here and create a script. But let me show you another way to create a script. So firstly, click the camera, okay, and then what we need to do is come to the inspector of the camera, click camera, and add a component. And here let's write a name. Let's say we can put here follow player. So that's going to be a new script, follow player, and let's create new script. And you can see the new script name is follow player, create and add. So now we will open this new script, so we can assign the camera, the player movement to the camera. And what we're gonna do. So first of all, let's create a variable, a public variable here. And since I want this variable in my camera inspector, so I can control over it, so I will create this. So it's going to be transform, characteristics are transform, and it will be the player transform. So player transform, and what we got. So transform, player transform. Let me just save this down here. Now if you go back to your game, you should see, and if you click the main camera, you should see here in the script we got a new component that is basically the player transform. So what we wanted here, we wanted the camera because it's the camera's attribute. So we want to assign this player's position to the camera. So I'll take it right here and drag down onto it. So now What is happening? I have assigned the player's movement to the camera, but I still need to assign the values to that, to this variable. How we can do that? Let's get to the update method, and let's assign the value. So in order to assign, I mean, the way what exactly we want to do is, so transform, we really want is transform dot position equal to, so the transform dot position is basically my camera's position. So transform dot position is my camera's position. I want to assign the player position, which is the player transform value, player's position, to my camera. So this is my camera's position, transform dot position, and player transform dot position is, it is the component right here. If you see the player's transform position, it's the player's position, the player's, wherever the player is going to be. Since if we play that, what's going to happen, the player's position will be assigned to the camera's position, which we previously did it by dragging the camera onto the player. But this is what we don't want. We want the z-axis only to be captured or only to be tracked. How we can do that? We cannot assign the z value directly here, so we need to pass this argument through a new variable. So let's create a new variable. Let's say vector3 for which will cover 3 axes, and the variable name is, let's say, camera pause. So camera pause equal to transform dot, sorry about that, it's the transform dot, oh, it should be, so the transform dot position, which is my camera's position. So I have assigned the camera's position to this variable, semicolon. Okay, let's move on. And now the camera position variable has been created. So the camera pause dot z, because I just want to pass this argument to z. And now the player transform players transform dot position dot z. So players z position will be assigned to my camera's dot position. So camera position is just a variable which got this. I need to again pass this value back to the transform dot position. So I will type here transform dot position equal to now my camera pause. So the camera's position will be assigned back to my the player's position will be assigned to my camera now. So let me just save this and let's try to run the code. Let's see what is happening here. What happens if we apply it? The compiler has to be fixed. Unexpected compiler errors. So let's, oh, sorry about that. That semicolon was missed. Save this and let's run it again. So what is happening here? If you guys see here, it is basically being moved. But if you guys, right now we can't see even over player. So right now it is moving, but we cannot see over player. So that's the problem. So how we can see the player? The problem is that if you guys see here, if I click my player and if I move my player up and down, the axis up and down, the player is fine. But the problem is my camera's position, main camera position, and the player position. Camera and player position are in parallel. That is why it is not basically being tracked. So if you guys see, the position is being changed. And if I click the camera, you can see exactly the same position of the camera. So camera is exactly following my player. So right now it is right mounted on, it's parallel. So I need to actually have an offset. So camera should be slightly behind the player and it should follow my player. It should be slightly, we need to add an offset. So in order to do that, we need to go back here. We need to create another variable for offset. So it's going to be a public variable. And since I want to control it through my inspector, so let's create it down here, float, and that's name is offset. So the offset variable, now what's going to happen, I need to add the offset position here as well, in the position of the player. So player, just to add an offset here, so offset, okay, offset is being added. Let me save this and let me show you what impact it did on my right here. If we go to the main camera, if you see we got an offset here, let me just put an offset here of -7. So now let's see what will happen now. So let's see if we play through my inspector, and then I just added this offset down here. The reason why I did that, by adding the offset, what you guys can see here, the camera will be offsetted with my player. And offset value, I set the offset value to -7. Now if I just play this, you guys can see here, so player is moving in the front and camera is also following behind. So basically the camera is still behind my player. If I just go to ground, if I just make the access to, let's say, make it, let's say, for example, 500, and like player position, everything's fine, plus, and let me just show you if we do this now, just to increase the length of my platform. Great. So just to make you understand, like just to make you think like it is going well, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually put some obstacles in between. So I will go down here, right click, and create a 3D object, a cube. Let me just put a cube here. Let's click the cube. This is the cube, and let's set the cube to all right, the cube value, let's see if we put the cube, what's the value of our player? It's 0.6 minus 45. All right, so let's okay, and 4, let's make 3, let's make it 2, and Z is fine, and let's scale it to maybe 4, and x-axis is also 4, let's put it 4. All right, so we got a cube here, and if I just slightly go down, okay, so I got one stuff down here for my player. This is my player. Now let's go back to scene. This is my object here. Let's slightly put it down here. Perfect. And now let's see if we can put another one. Let me copy paste this. Let me duplicate it. Duplicate. We got one more. Let's select the duplicated one, and let's move it a bit ahead. Let's say position Z, maybe 0, and 0, not 0, let's 4, or let's 2. 1 is good. And slightly Z axis Y, let's move it to 2 or 3. And let me show you now. Let's play the game. Once we have that, you guys can see, oops, we can actually see down here. All right, so I believe everybody got the idea about what we have to do. So today what we have learned is we have mounted the camera, and now camera follow along the player. If you see, camera follow along our player, so camera follows over player. And let's see what we're gonna next do in the next time. So please get it done, take the proper screenshots, and if there would be any questions, do let me know. Make sure you have all the upgraded scripts, and if anybody needs any questions, please do let me know. Please do paste your scripts as well in your lab. Okay, thank you very much, everyone.